Hello students, today we'll be learning the concept of decision making. Uh, Actually, a manager is called as a decision maker because every day he has to make certain minor or major decisions, and therefore he's called as a decision maker. By profession also he is a decision maker, and decision making, as you know, is a very crucial and a central job of a manager, because to take a decision means you must have to take it very carefully. You have to think about various alternatives which are available for taking the right or the best decision, and you also have to think about what are the post effects of that decision. That means when you take a final decision and when you implement it, what are the effects of that decision on your business organization, isn't it? So in that respect, the role of manager is very crucial, and his central job is to take decision, and therefore is called as decision maker. Okay, then what he has to he has to take the decision regarding what is to be done, where it is to be done, and when it is to be done. Okay, so this kind of decision has to be taken by the manager. Then he's the person who decides everything, and decision is a word derived from Latin word decidere, which means cutting off. Because cutting off means what? When you take a decision, students, you are having number of alternatives in front of you, right? And you keep on cutting the alternatives. That means, for example, you want to purchase one chocolate, okay, and you want to take a decision that which chocolate I'm supposed to purchase. Now there are many various chocolates available in the shop. Okay, so you are having, for example, Eclairs, Melody, Alpenlibe. So many brands are available. Now, from those brands, you will think about your need. You will think that which chocolate I should choose so that I'll get better satisfaction, right? I'll be satisfied by consuming that chocolate, and accordingly, you will cut off the other alternatives. For example, Alpenlibe, I don't like its taste. For example, you'll cut off that option. Then Melody, for example, you would say that I don't like its cover, I don't like its shape. Okay, that is also again cut off. And when it comes to Eclairs, if you think that yes, it is having a blue color wrapper, it's attractive. Generally, children have such kind of a viewpoint. So, and it's yummy when when you put it in mouth, you get liquid chocolate also into the mouth, isn't it? So what did that kid do, or what does that child do? Eclairs is the best option according to him, and he takes the decision of choosing Eclairs chocolate instead of Alpenlibe and Melody, right? So Alpenlibe and Melody were the other alternatives available, so you have cut them out off and you have selected Eclairs, isn't it? So that was your decision of selecting Eclairs or purchasing Eclairs chocolate. When you consume it and you feel satisfied, what do you say? My decision was right, isn't it? So decision making is cutting off. It means cutting off the alternatives and choosing the best alternative. That is called as decision making. Okay, and the last point is to decide means to come to a conclusion. When you take a decision, you come to a conclusion that finally, yes, I have taken the decision, isn't it? For example, after your 10th standard, you are having so many options in front of you, whether you can go for a science stream, commerce, arts, then a diploma, pharmacy, diploma engineering, isn't it? Many options were available in front of you, but you thought about the commerce option seriously, and you thought that rest, instead of other options, I should go for commerce because I can build a better career here in commerce stream, according to me, as per my interest area and whatever the scope the commerce stream is having. Accordingly, I can get a good scope over there, isn't it? So this is the option which you have selected. That means you have cut other all options of arts, science, right? And then medical, other options have been cut off, and this commerce, selecting a commerce stream is the final decision. You have reached to a conclusion that finally I am going to get admission for a commerce stream, isn't it? So that is decision, means you always come to a conclusion. Okay, then what is the definition? A decision represents a judgment, a final resolution of a conflict of needs, means, or goals, and a commitment to action made in face of uncertainty, complexity, and even irrationality. Okay, so you make a final resolution, a final conclusion, a final decision that I want to do this. And when you take that decision, it's your commitment to follow it. That is called as decision. You have to compulsory bring that decision into action or implement that decision. That is called as implementation. That is called as decision making. Okay, now we are going to see, as we learned planning, process of planning, in the same way we are having decision making process. We always go through this decision making process, but we never realize that we are going through this process. So step by step we are going to see what is the process. The first one is setting a specific objective. Okay, so uh, now here decision making is deciding from rest of the alternatives, right? So before you go for a selection of alternatives, a decision is taken to achieve certain objective. So unless and until you are having any kind of objective in front of you, what kind of decision you are going to take, isn't it? So there must be some specific objective for a decision. A decision is required to attain some objective, and every business activity has certain goals, right? So the starting or the beginning point in the process of decision making is determining the need for a decision. Such objective setting is an outcome of earlier decision, and the manager should be clear about the result derived from a decision. Okay, so the gap between where we are and where we want to go will throw light on the results desired. Okay, such knowledge will definitely sharpen the objective of results desired. So it becomes necessary at this stage to decide a specific objective before you go for decision making process. Then next is identifying the problem. Okay, now before taking a decision, a manager must be able to identify the exact problem in the organization. Okay, now to solve a certain problem, uh, appropriate decision has to be taken. And before solving the problem, you must know that where does the problem lie, how you are going to identify it. So for identifying, you have a very good medical term is called as diagnosis. Okay, so what is diagnosis? It's a medical term, and that is used by doctors regarding any kind of any kind of difficulty or disease a patient is suffering from, and to find out that is called as diagnosis. Okay, now how this diagnosis is done? It is based on symptoms, right? So symptoms show you the existence of a problem. So for example, your sales are declining day by day. Okay, how will you come to know? Overnight you're not going to come to know it, isn't it? From when you take a look at your sales graph from last 4 6 months, you will realize that your graph is declining day by day. That time, these are the symptoms where you come to know that the demand for your product is decreasing day by day. Okay, so that way, that means from symptoms, as like the doctor diagnoses the disease of the patient on basis of the symptoms the particular patient is suffering from. In the same way, in organization also, you have to identify the problem in the organization on basis of the symptoms which you are getting, which you are able to find. Okay, now when you go to doctor, you're suffering. Of course, we go to a doctor because you're having certain problem, physical problems, right? So when you go, the first question which your doctor will ask is that what is happening? I mean, what is your problem? Isn't it? Then, for example, you said I have a cough, cold, headache, etc., etc., isn't it? Then on basis of that, your doctor will take a checkup, and and then he'll suggest certain medicines. He'll ask you to consume those medicines, and he will tell you that within 2 days you'll be okay, fine. If you're not fine, you just come back, we'll go for certain test, isn't it? Sometimes it happens that diseases like typhoid, cholera, malaria, you're unable to find it out unless and until you test your blood, isn't it? So those are further, I mean, if you're not feel getting rid of your problem, then you'll several times you'll visit your doctor, right? So he'll ask you to do certain test, and then looking at the report of those blood test report, he will diagnose that you are suffering, for example, from typhoid or cholera or this, etc., whatever, isn't it? And on basis of that, now this is called as diagnosis. You're suffering from typhoid, that is the perfect diagnosis. On basis of that, now your doctor will give you a prescription for he'll suggest you the medicines which will fight against the disease, that is typhoid. And then after over a period of time, you will feel better, you will become good, isn't it? You will be again back healthy. That time you will say that this doctor is good doctor, he has identified that my problem in a very good way, isn't it? So your diagnosis is very important, so that you can cure your patient in that way. So in the same way, such diagnosis is also undertaken in business organization to identify the problem. Okay, now searching for alternatives. Okay, now as I said in example, we saw that our sales are declining day by day. Now, if what would be your objective in this case? You have to take a decision in such a way that you want to increase the demand for your product or sales of your product, right? So for increasing the demand for your product, you are having number of alternatives. You can either go for alteration of product, you can either go for heavy advertisement and publicity, you can totally withdraw the product from the market and relaunch a new product. So many options are available for you in the organization. So in at this stage, what are you going to do is you're going to search for alternatives. Okay, at this step, manager makes search for possible solutions. There can be several ways of solving a problem, but all alternatives may not be equally good. So manager has to try to search for various alternatives available to find the best solution. So manager can should use search for several alternatives by making use of his past experience, using his creative techniques, or he can follow the prevailing practices in other companies. Okay, so you have to find various alternatives so that you can search for the best one. Okay, the next step is to evaluate the alternatives. At this stage, he's going to evaluate each and every alternative in which respect, which what are the positive and negative points of each of the alternative that are going to be studied at this stage, and the alternative which is having more positive points would be selected. Okay, so the next step is selection of a course. In this, after considering the positive and the negative points of all the alternatives, a final decision is taken about choosing the best alternative, and the alternative having more positive points is definitely selected because it is a strong alternative. For example, now again the same thing, after passing of your 10th standard or SSC exam, you are having so many options, isn't it? But in commerce stream, you found so many options, positive points, and therefore you selected that option, isn't it? Because when you go for commerce, you can go, you have number of opportunities, career opportunities. You can go for you can become a CA, CMA. You can go for banking exams, you can go for competitive exams, you can make a good career in management, you can go for MBA, you can go for accounting also, isn't it? So many options were there for commerce stream, and therefore you selected it. So definitely the option is selected which is having more positive points. Okay, then now whenever you are selecting the option, there are three ways through which you do it. First is your experience, your past experience. Now if the manager is a trained person, he is a person with lot of experience, that what he is going to do is that if he was suffering, if he had solved such kind of problems earlier in the past, then what kind of strategy was used in the past, or what kind of decisions were taken in the past, he will think about them, and then he may use the same experience in the present situation also. That is one method. Next is experimentation method, where this is being used by the freshers. That means you are newly appointed as a manager and you don't have any experience as a manager, and that time you don't know, you don't have any experience, isn't it? So you are with zero experience, you don't know what kind of decision is to be taken. At this point of time, you can you can go for each and every alternative, try for trial and error method, which is called as. So you can try for alternative, see to it whether it's implementing properly. If it is yes, go ahead. If it is no, go for the another alternative, trial and error. So you go for each and every alternative, try for it unless and until you become successful. Okay, and that would be your experience again. So next time this experience will again be useful for you. Okay, then the next step is action or execution of the decision. When you decide the final alternative which is to be selected, the process of decision making ends with this, and the process must ensure that objective should be achieved by the alternative selected by you. Now in our example, what was our objective? To increase the sales or increase the demand for your product, right? So suppose we have selected the alternative of going for heavy advertisement and publicity. Okay, so now you'll start going for doing this heavy advertisement and publicity, and over a period of time you will you will not come up with the results after the implementation of decision. You'll have to wait and watch. You'll have to wait for few days, few weeks, few months rather, and then if you realize that your sales graph is increasing, your demand for your product has been increased, then you can come up with this conclusion that your decision was right of going for heavy advertisement and publicity. Okay, so this is the sixth step, and the last one is results and follow up. So after implementation of decision, manager takes a feedback of results of execution of decision, and results show whether the decision has proved to be right or wrong. So results are judged on the basis of ability of the decision to achieve the objectives. So when you achieve your objectives, just you should be proud of yourself that your decision has proved to be a right one. If your objectives have not been achieved, there are certain deviations are found out, then you can take certain corrective action and move further. Okay, so this is the decision making process. Then we are going to see decision making techniques. Now there are three types of techniques. The first one is operation research. Operation research, actually it's OR teams. It was called as OR teams actually. These are the teams consisting of comprising of those experts from various disciplines like economics, management, mathematics, statistics, science. So many people, experts from their various respective subjects, they used to come together and solve the problems related to warfare. That means these were OR teams were used very often in during the Second World War. But I mean, these were the people who used to make mathematical calculations. Okay, scientifically they used to do that and solve the complicated warfare problems. That means problems related to war, and they were solved by these people. Now after the end of Second World War, these people or these OR teams were being used extensively in business organizations for solving managerial problems, okay, or complex decision making. So and because the business organization size increased and it became more complicated, and therefore OR teams were used for solving the business problems. Okay, so that way they were used. So mathematical calculations are done by these people, and they come up with the solutions which are hopefully, I mean, they focus the thing in a very accurate manner, and then they give suggest the management about what kind of a decision can be taken which would be beneficial for the organization for longer period of time. Okay, then next one is your decision tree. Now, decision tree is a graphical method which shows the number of alternatives and the results. So, at a glance, I mean, this tree gives an idea to a manager where at a glance he comes to know that how many alternatives I do have in front of me, and which what are the strong points and weak points of each of the alternatives. So, this technique makes it easy for the manager to take the decision. Okay, then next is game theory. This method is used under competitive situation, which was developed. This theory or this technique was developed during the war to decide the actions of your army. Now, what is game? Game is a conflict between two parties, and it is described by set of rules. So, rules explain clearly what each person called player is required to do under all possible set of circumstances. In short, you have to decide what would be the action of your competitor, and what would be your what should be your action, and what would be the reaction of your competitor. That way the game has to be played. Okay, so and the some other six hats of decision making we are going to see. So in the first one is white hat. White hat means it's a hat which represents that it is used to record information which is currently available and to identify further information that may be needed. Okay, so it is about data and information. When a person is wearing red hat, it is associated with feelings, intuition, emotions, and it allows people to put forward feelings without justification. So irrational decision making, which we can call. In case of yellow hat, it is positive view of things. It is an optimistic hat. It looks for benefits in a situation, and this hat encourages a positive view in people who are always critical. Okay, then green hat, green color indicates very creative, so it believes in creative thinking, generating new ideas. And blue hat is used for thinking about thinking. The blue hat asks for summarizes conclusions and decisions. Okay, so with this we'll end with today's lecture. Thank you.